Hey DJ, we're finally back in the studio. It's May, and we're talking about one of my favorite topics, a vigilante. He's a anti-hero almost, a bat-themed protagonist.
Are we talking about Morbius?
God no, we're talking Batman 89.
Oh, yeah.
We're a couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. We're the men who watch movies.
All right. Batman '89. What a movie! I mean, like it's such a classic. Definitely set the precedent for like future Batman movies. I mean, it's hard to imagine a world without Batman '89. Would you say?
Yeah, it was very, very fantastic. And, of course, there was a writer's strike at one point. That
Just like today.
that Michael Keaton was, Mr. Mom. He was other in movie roles, and they thought that this comic guy is going to be Batman, and the
Oh, you're talking about the not a writer's strike, but you're talking about the protests that they had about Michael Keaton being Batman. Oh yeah, that was a big poop storm.
that was ridiculous. I mean, Michael Keaton can pull it off.
That
Like
is one big pile
that.
of shit.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. But at the time, like I could see their point because he hadn't been in anything that was too serious. He had a lot of comedies out. I mean, he, of course, Mr. Mom was like the big reference. People were trying to picture him as Batman, and it just didn't match well with the image that they wanted to see. Because at the time, people were over the '60s Batman, and of course, I have a love for '60s Batman.
Well, there was some talk about, if they were gonna put Michael Keaton in this movie, they're gonna be like, we cannot make this a campy Batman.
Yeah.
We got to make this dark, noir, very different, a little gritty, little awesome, just full of gravitas.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah, because up until that point, people just thought of campy Adam West Batman, which is not bad, but people were over it at the time. Now we look on it with a sense of fondness as a product of its era, but people wanted to see something more, something like you said, with more gravitas. I love that word, gravitas. Michael Uslan was actually the guy that really wanted this to happen. Now he's a big comic book fan. He actually went to Indiana University, and he created it was like a superhero course. And there's a big story about that. They were doing like a bunch of experimental college courses, and they had to propose the idea to like their professor or something like that. Do you remember this story?
Oh yeah, I remember an interview.
Yeah, and so basically he was saying he had to prove like that this would be a good course, and then the guy, like one of the head people, was saying like, so you want to bring a course about funny books to my university? I don't think so. That's not college material. And he's like, you can't convince me that comic books are the new like myths and legends and whatnot. And he was saying, well, really, well, the story of Moses, and he goes into the whole speech about, oh yeah, Moses, he was sent down the river in a basket, and he was adopted by, and he goes about the whole story, and then he tells him to tell the story of Superman and about he was sent, in a rocket ship to Earth, and he was adopted by Earth parents, and then he realized that there was the connection between the two stories and how it's essentially a retelling of classic tales. And at that point, a light bulb went off, and he's like, okay, you know what? I grant you your course. It's going to be accredited. And after that, it brought a lot of notoriety to Michael Uslan, and his next big thing he wanted to do was get a Batman movie made because he was a big fan of the dark, brooding Batman. And then so that's when he, the ball started rolling, and he eventually met up with people from like Warner Brothers and stuff like that. And at first they shopped it around, I think, to other studios that turned it down. But the people at Warner Brothers owned the rights, which, made sense. I mean, they made Superman, which was another movie that set a big precedent for superhero movies, right?
Oh yeah, it's very, very fantastic with the Christopher Reeves, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, which in fact he did not shave his head, but he did get a bald wig at the end of the movie.
Yeah. It did have that. Superman with Christopher Reeves, it had a little tiny sense of camp, but for the most part, it really added a lot of credibility to the superhero genre, because it was like a fully fleshed out version of the character. He wasn't cartoony at all. Had some serious moments, heavy actors. Of course, the big draw at the time, because no one knew who Christopher Reeves was. They put the great, my mind's blanking on the name, as Jor-El. You know what his name is. It's from The Godfather.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. How could I forget Marlon Brando? But they put Marlon Brando as a big draw. He was like the first one credited, even though he
got paid like some amount of money, and he didn't remember his lines, and I have no idea what was going on. But he does a very, very good job as playing Jor-El.
Yeah, but he was the big catch for that movie, to sell it as a legit motion picture. Batman did a similar thing. They got the great, what's his face, Jack Nicholson. I can't think today. They got the great Jack Nicholson as the Joker. In a similar fashion, they wanted to bring a sense of gravitas to this movie.
And Jack Nicholson did bring that gravitas, and he was so terrific.
Oh yeah, he was so enthused about this. He was so excited about playing the Joker. Like he took it seriously, more than anyone had a right to. But that's just how he is. Like he saw this role, and I believe that he's credited as saying that this is one of his favorite roles that he ever played. And you could see it really through his performance. Like he just went the full 100, man. And there's no one else could have played it like him. Of course, Robin Williams was courted at one point to play the Joker. Famously, it was only to bait Jack Nicholson into playing the Joker, much to his chagrin.
And of course, Robin Williams got pissed off.
Yeah. So much so that later, when they asked him to play the Riddler in Batman Forever, he turned it down because of the bad blood that happened. He realized that they were just using him as bait to get Jack Nicholson, and that sucks. They shouldn't have done that, but it just happened the way it did. Sometimes that's the ruthless movie business. But yeah, and of course, there was a bunch of people that was, that were in the running to play Batman. Do you know some of the names?
Was it like Sean Young?
She was not going to play Batman, no. But she was cast as Vicky Vale, and she was horseback riding. She fell off and injured herself. Unfortunately, she had to be replaced by Kim Basinger, and unfortunately for her, it definitely kind of scarred her for life, because like she had a lot of that, like what could have been. I could have been in a huge, blockbuster motion picture, and it could have set me up in the future for other huge motion pictures and launched my career. And, it really haunted her for the longest time, unfortunately. It's kind of sad, And she even tried to jump on the opportunity to audition for Batman Returns. I don't know if you remember that story.
Oh yeah, she auditioned as Catwoman.
Yeah, she dressed as Catwoman, and she went into the auditions, but unfortunately, went to the great Michelle Pfeiffer. It just wasn't in the cards. Do you know who originally Tim Burton wanted to play Batman?
I have no idea.
He wanted Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah, and then of course, they were saying that would it be cool if Willem Dafoe played the Joker in 1989 Batman?
Well, see, that was rumors. Because a lot of people are still saying to this day that Willem Dafoe should play the Joker. But at the time, a younger Willem Dafoe was Tim Burton's ideal Batman, and I think it had a lot to do with the eyes, because that's why Keaton was like a big draw for Burton as well. I mean, he worked with him before in Beetlejuice. But it was someone other than Michael Keaton that proposed that they should get Michael Keaton. And then
but then of course it was John Lithgow who was actually going to play the Joker originally.
Really? Was he one of the people in the running?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It said it. Well, actually, he said it on the Conan interview, on the TV interview. That
interesting.
That it talks about it, but yeah, I mean, John Lithgow would have been a fantastic choice, but nevertheless, Jack Nicholson is the best.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I couldn't think of anyone better to play the Joker, especially at that time. But yeah,
he's hilarious and funny, and he brought that gravitas to that character, of course. And Tim Burton wanted a different Joker, and that's what it was: a gravitas, funny, energetic Joker.
Yeah, I mean, it really brought that sense of like style to it. That sense of like I don't know. He just didn't give a shit. I love how jokey he is, but in an evil, devious way. It's not like overly like goofy, but he's just very twisted, and this kind of sense of humor that he has. I love it. It's just interesting hearing though about these alternate castings and stuff like that. Originally, remember Robin was supposed to be in Batman '89. I think Sam Hamm during an interview he said that he believed that at one point Eddie Murphy was supposed to play Robin or something like that. And then I know in Batman Forever, Marlon Wayans was actually supposed to play. I think at the time when what's his name, Tim Burton was still attached. Marlon Wayans was supposed to play him, and they actually paid out Marlon Wayans when Joel Schumacher came in the picture. They paid out Marlon Wayans to not play Robin, and they got their own cast. They got Chris O'Donnell to play Robin in that one. But it's so interesting hearing about these alternate casting rumors. Of course, Bill Murray, I think, at one point was supposed to play Batman. I actually created some AI versions of these alternate castings. Of course, how they recast Tommy Lee Jones. I did an AI to see what Tommy Lee Jones would have looked. I mean, not Tommy Lee Jones. They recast Billy D. Williams with Tommy Lee Jones. I did an AI to see what Billy D. Williams would look like as Two-Face. It came out really interesting. I also did an AI to see what Sean Young would have looked like as Vicky Vale. And I even did one with Bill Murray, Bruce Wayne. You can see that on our Instagram at Men Watch Movies. It was a lot of fun creating those. It's good. It's cool. I think it's cool to see what could have been. But what we got was pretty damn great.
Yep. And of course, back then it was like they got merchandise, mugs, T-shirts.
Oh yeah, that was a huge part of it.
The whole paraphernalia stuff.
Definitely. That was a huge part, of that movie. Of course, after Star Wars, I think George Lucas set the precedent for marketing for a movie, and then of course it carried over into everything after that. Mugs, shirts, hats. I mean, even at the beginning of the VHS tape, remember they had that cartoon with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck selling the Warner Brothers catalog, and
I remember it was a long time ago.
And it had like Daffy and Bugs wearing the Batman shirt, and I love that. I always wanted to get the stuff out of that catalog. That was great. But yeah, merchandising was key in this.
Are they still around, the merchandise, or is it kind of?
I'm sure you could find some on eBay. I mean, like you're talking about like the original 1989 merchandise.
Yeah,
it's probably floating around on eBay, but you're probably going to pay a good penny for it. But they have newer stuff, of course. Yeah, that was fun. And I remember that too. I remember at the beginning of the VHS tape, it had that ad for Diet Coke with Batman and Alfred.
Michael Go.
Yeah, just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. Yeah, I love that shit. No one's gonna remember that except for the OGs who watched it on VHS. But not to get too off topic here. But yeah, Batman. The merchandising was crazy, and that logo is epic. It's iconic. I love that. That gold look is very interesting. Later on, they moved to like the stark yellow for Batman Returns, but I love that gold Batman logo. I remember like they were talking about it on behind the scenes and whatnot, and there was kind of like people didn't know what they were looking at first. I forget who it was, but they said that when at first glance it looked like the inside of somebody's throat, but then the more you look at it, you realize hey, it's an image of a bat, and it's like it just became iconic. And they had it on posters and billboards everywhere at the time. It's just interesting. The whole marketing was interesting, and the production was crazy. They actually filmed it in England, if I am not mistaken, at a place called Pinewood Studios. Just because of the budget, they didn't really have like a huge budget. They didn't know how how big the movie was going to be. So they actually went over to England. I saw this interview with the people over in England, over at Pinewood Studios, and they were talking about how James Bond at that time was supposed to film, and they moved production to Mexico, and so they were like, well, one hero left us, but we got another one in his place. We got Batman. So it's kind of funny. But that set was crazy. I didn't realize, I was watching the behind the scenes footage. I didn't realize how huge that set was, that Gotham set. There's actually footage of Bob Kane just walking around the set of Gotham, just sitting on the steps, and it's interesting. A lot of the buildings are like half buildings because they added in the rest with matte paintings later. But have you seen like behind the scenes images of the set?
Yeah, I have seen it, and I have seen the drawing of the Penguin, the Bob Kane's original drawing back then.
Oh yeah.
It had if I remember correctly, it was the Penguin, and he was like, happy, and he had like a rainbow umbrella. I think that was
Penguin.
Bob Kane.
Penguin was a goofy character. I love the Burton reimagining of him. I didn't know how much Tim Burton played a role in like designing the characters for Batman Returns, but
I had no idea. Actually,
a lot of his drawings
so different back then.
Yeah, a lot of his drawings are very integral into creating like the versions that you see in the movie. Like when they got the way they designed Danny DeVito's Penguin, it's just like a real life version of a drawing that Tim Burton did of the Penguin.
It's like Paul Williams' Penguin in the earlier drawings, because if I remember correctly, it was he had long hair, of course. He had like a bulky suit, or
you're talking about the animated version, right?
Yep.
That's interesting. I was watching a video on that. I didn't realize how much they had changed, because they had the original Batman animated series and they had the new Batman animated series, and I didn't realize how much the character designs had changed. Because the ones from the original Batman animated series were a lot like the Tim Burton ones, where like the Penguin was like a deformed Penguin Man, and then you had the newer version of the animated series where he was just like he was like the Penguin from the original comics, where he was just a normal guy. So that's kind of interesting. They moved away from the Burton-esque tones and whatnot.
Yeah,
I prefer the Burton-esque tones, but
they're very, very different. But there is some rumors. No, I'm not going to say anything about it, but there are rumors that Danny DeVito might reprise his role as the Penguin.
Really?
Now that's just rumors.
Is he going to get naked and come out at someone's
couch? I am
couch?
not sure, but if it is, then they might de-age him to make him look more.
I think we're fine without. The Penguin's dead. I mean, I know
this is just rumors.
Technically,
this is not like speculation.
It is speculation, actually.
But actually, I heard it from John Campio podcast.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. There's supposedly people are thinking there's going to be a lot of huge cameos and whatnot, and then in the new Flash movie. We'll have to wait and see for that.
It looks awesome, by the way. Very, very awesome.
And then, of course, in Batman '89, we have the wonderful Danny Elfman doing the score. Such an epic, memorable score. No other Batman movie has had such a memorable score. Of course, I mean, Hans Zimmer did a great job with The Dark Knight.
Very different.
But yeah, very, very different. The Batman '89 theme is so just like iconic. That march. I remember the people from the studio were having doubts, like Warner Brothers and whatnot, were having doubts about Danny Elfman's ability to make the soundtrack. And just because his process, the way he works, it's kind of all over the place. And they just weren't sure about him. And then Tim Burton was like, play him the march. And then finally he played the epic Batman march for him, for the studio. And they were like, okay, perfect. It's so iconic. Just like the Superman John Williams theme. It's just perfection. You just picture
actually,
the character.
Speaking of John Williams, Lucasfilms had special effects in the Batman '89 movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Billy D. Williams, who played Harvey Dent, who was back then known as Lando Calrissian in the Star Wars movies, which makes a little bit of sense because Billy D. Williams back at the time was doing commercials for Colt 45 beer.
What?
I failed to see the connection between any of these things, but I just love...
It makes a little sense.
I love hearing anything about Billy D. Williams, so that's okay. But not to get too off topic.
Not to get too off topic, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, of course, the great Billy D. Williams in this. I'm disappointed that I hit my headphones on the mic. I'm disappointed that we never got Billy D. Williams Two-Face. But that's just one of the great things you're going to see on my Instagram in the AI form. We finally get to see Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. And also, there's a comic out. It came out years ago. I forget what it's called, like Batman Continues or some shit. But it was written by Sam Hamm, and they actually have the Billy D. Williams Two-Face in that as well. I want to pick that up. I haven't had a chance to read that yet, but it looks epic. You get to see what essentially a third Tim Burton Batman would have looked like. All right, but speaking of soundtrack, besides the great Danny Elfman, we have the great Prince. He did all the music for this. What do you think about the Prince music, man?
Oh, it was awesome.
What a wild guy. Party Man. You know who that was actually written about?
Oh, Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, it was not the Joker, but Jack Nicholson himself. He was inspired. I think he went to like a party where Jack Nicholson was at, and he saw him sitting there like all cool man with his sunglasses on, and he was like, man, that guy's just cool. That guy's just, he is the epitome of the party. He is a party man, and he wrote the song about Jack Nicholson and his swagger. And so that's what that song is about, just how cool Jack Nicholson was. He really was, from what I heard about him on set. I heard he was really a cool guy. Like, he actually helped Tim Burton out a lot. It was his first huge motion picture. I mean, of course, he did Pee-wee. He did some small stuff for Disney, like the original Frankenweenie and whatnot. But he did Beetlejuice, which of course is a big movie, but in terms of blockbuster, like Batman was bigger, and then so there was a huge production and whatnot, and Jack Nicholson kind of helped mentor him and be like, hey, if you need whatever you need, just tell him, and don't compromise. Get what you want to make this picture happen. And he kind of mentored him throughout the whole process. I thought that was cool. But man, the movie's so epic. So it starts out in Gotham City. We see these two parents and their kid walking through Gotham. It almost reminds me of the Waynes, right? I think that's what they're trying to.
I thought it was a little different, because I thought it was about the Waynes, but actually it was a random family, which
exactly. I think
confused me a little bit, but it was when
we first saw it.
different.
I think it's to spark the image of the Wayne family, because the people who know the comics are like, oh shit, that's probably the Waynes, and then we see it turns out Batman is actually looming over the city, watching, and I think in his mind it's reminds him of his parents, the night his parents got killed. So I think that's why he takes it personal. He probably takes it personal at this point.
And there was a lot of stunt doubles in the movie. There was Carl Newman at the finale where he was looking at the bat signal, and you can see that there was this another stunt double, because Michael Keaton was tired after the movie, so I guess they got a stunt double. And then Dave Lee, who was the best stunt double for Michael Keaton, he did the fighting choreography for in the street fight, the back alley street fight.
Oh yeah, that was an epic fight. I love that. And then didn't they get a guy? He was like a belly dancer or something.
Oh yeah, there was a belly dancer.
They got one. I think he was in the scene where he swooshes his cape when he goes to Access Chemicals. Yeah. Because the cape was so heavy, it was like a huge latex cape, and then in order to get him to swoosh it properly, they had to get a stunt guy to do it. I think that's crazy, but that's movie making for you. But yeah, kudos to all the stunt people. Such great work, such seamless work. But yeah. I love that scene where he's kind of looming over the city. Although there's a weird shot when he's up on the building, and it's animated. I don't know why they animated it. They couldn't get a top-down shot of Batman walking. It was a little jarring.
Different actually, and a little different because wasn't the Batman costume related to the animated series a little bit?
Yeah, the animated series took a lot of inspiration from the Tim Burton Batman. Of course, it happened because of the success of Tim Burton's Batman.
And the Joker? He did wear the same costume, and
they took the Tim Burton vibe, and then they added a lot more of the comicness into it. But it definitely, the animated series has the Tim Burton theme and everything like that, so it took a lot of inspiration in that kind of sense, more of a vibe than anything. But Anyway, moving on. But yeah, I love that scene when he beats up those two junkies on the roof. They're so gross looking. Those crusty junkies. They rob the family, and then Batman comes from behind and beats the shit out of him. I love this Batman. He doesn't give a fuck. He can kill people and whatnot as long as they're bad.
There's a speculation that Batman doesn't kill, but in this movie, I guess Batman does.
Batman don't give a fuck.
Batman does kill. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, I'm just you know, I have no idea. But
he literally dropped a bomb.
That is cool.
On all those Joker goons in the middle of Axis Chemicals.
That was kind of random.
And blew them to bits.
That was random, but I guess, you know, Batman is Batman.
And the brutality continues in Batman Returns. I love how he like hands one of the clowns a bomb that he steals from one of the other Penguin
it's
goons.
One of the wrestlers, but he passed away recently.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he passed away. And then, of course, the Thin Clown is played by Doug Jones.
Doug Jones, that's right. He was one of the clowns.
He was like, you know, Thin Clown with the makeup. You couldn't recognize him.
Yeah.
And nowadays he's all pale and thin and and awesome.
Nothing's changed. I love Doug Jones. But yeah, and then my favorite kill from Batman Returns was the devil fire breather. He's breathing fire on the Batmobile, and all of a sudden he lifts up the Batmobile with this weird like turny dealy, and then he turns the jet engine onto him and sets him on fire. Batman don't give a shit. Okay, but
that was
back
kind of
to
random, but of course,
back to 89.
It is what it is. It's awesome.
Yeah, back to 89. He kicks the shit out of those junkies. I love that scene, and of course, we get the epic "I'm Batman," which was actually improvised by Keaton. I'm glad he did that. That was epic. It's carried over to other versions, like the Christian Bale version. They use that same line. I love it. Apparently Keaton was like a logic freak. He was like, I don't know how people are not going to know this is Bruce Wayne. So he's the one who started doing like that deep voice change, and that also carried over to the other versions of Batman later on, especially most infamously with Christian Bale, where he overdid it sometimes. But Keaton. That started
and there was
with Keaton.
A story about Bale's Batman that was surprisingly different. That when he did that voice, he lost his voice.
Oh, really?
And got sick.
I didn't know that.
So it was like he got sick, and then he rested up, and then his voice got a lot better. Then, of course, he did his Batman voice, which was phenomenal. But, these different variations of Batman voices, so awesome. But my favorite is the one and only, the great thespian himself, Michael Keaton.
I thought you were gonna say my favorite Batman voice was Kevin Conroy, and I was gonna say at the same time as you to be like epic and like we're in sync, but you said Michael Keaton, so
and of course Kevin Conroy.
He was great. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. I think he's the definitive Batman voice. But I do love Michael Keaton in that role, just the OG. Not of course
we
the
wouldn't
first
have
Batman.
we wouldn't have Michael Keaton's Batman without Kevin Conroy's Batman. So that's more of a
strike that, reverse it. You wouldn't have Kevin Conroy's Batman without Michael Keaton's Batman.
Oh yeah.
But I get your point.
I meant to say that, but yeah, if we didn't have Kevin Conroy's Batman, we wouldn't have Michael Keaton's Batman. Ergo,
flip of that.
We have two awesome Batmans.
Two awesome Batman. Well, there's been more since, but definitely at the time they were the GOATs, the greatest of all time. Anyway, moving on. Of course, we have the great Jack Nicholson playing Jack Napier / the Joker. What do you think about this origin story? It's different from the comic books. In the comic books,
and
the
then,
Joker.
Of course, Hugo Blick in the flashback plays a younger version of Jack Napier, and he looked great. Looks the same.
He looked great. That was a great job. What do you think about the Joker being tied to Batman and vice versa?
I thought it was kind of weird, but
yeah,
as people would know,
I don't mind it so much now. But at the time when I was watching it, when I like as a kid and stuff, I was like, that's kind of weird. Like what a coincidence!
Wayne's killer.
Exactly. I was like, what a coincidence that they're all tied together neatly, like in this origin story. Never quite was believable to me, which is weird because it's a movie about a guy who dresses up as a bat and fights crime and whatnot. But I don't know. I just love logic and stuff like that. Kind of like I mentioned with Keaton, he loves logic and whatnot. And I thought that was kind of weird that they were tied to each other's origins and they didn't even know it at first. It's, but I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I've grown to like it, though. I appreciate what they were trying to do in a storytelling sense. But yeah, Jack Napier, he was a criminal guy. He worked for Grissom, and of course he was screwed over. He's trying to take over Grissom's operation, right? But then Grissom, in order to get back at him, he used one of the police informants that they have, which is Alexander Knox. No, not Knox. Knox is the reporter.
Lieutenant Max Eckhart.
Eckhart, yeah. Eckhart was the police informant for Grissom's operation, and then he tipped off the police and whatnot because they were going to. They were planning on raiding Axis Chemicals, which is a front company for Grissom's crime operation, and they got wind of it. So Jack said, "Why don't we just clear it out and say it was just industrial espionage or whatever?" And then what's his name? Grissom said, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't you go ahead and do that?" And then he ended up calling the police on him through Eckhart, and what's his name? Crinster Gordon got wind of it. It was a whole deal, and he ended up screwing over Jack Napier. They got in a gunfight at Axis Chemicals. Of course, Batman got wind of it at the gala. I never knew what that gala was for. Did you know why Bruce Wayne was throwing that party?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it was for the gala for like the nature forest something.
That was in Batman and Robin. This one I was looking at because I never thought about it before, but why he was throwing this big party gala like thing. But if you look at one of the banners, it's for the Gotham 200 celebration, the 200-year celebration. He's trying to raise money because that's a big plot point in the movie. The mayor's trying to throw this big, birthday celebration for Gotham, and he's worried about the crime, fucking it up, and so that's why he's trying to squash Grissom's crime operations in time for the gala. And so that's what that Bruce Wayne benefit was for, is to raise money for the gala. I never knew that. For the celebration.
Yeah, it was very, very different, but very, very awesome, and of course when you watch that movie, you might take a look at it and see what's out there in the movie.
Yeah. Of course, we have Alexander Knox, played by Robert Wool. He's hilarious in this movie. I think he's just so cheeky. He's funny as hell. He's trying to investigate the Batman. He goes to the scene where he beat up those junkies. He's trying to get information. The only one that believes him is Vicky Vale, played by Kim Basinger. And so they partner up eventually, trying to investigate. That's when they go to Bruce Wayne's event because they know that Commissioner Gordon's going to be there and he has a file on the Batman. So they're trying to speak with him. Of course, none of them want to comment on it because they're just trying to keep everything hush-hush. But eventually they all culminate into that scene at Axis Chemicals. I love that scene. Even the old cheap like ricochet sound effects and those big vats of green goo spilling everywhere. I think it's so cool. And of course, that's where we have the Joker origin. I love Batman.
Now, when Jack Napier fires his gun and Batman deflects his arm shield or arm blades, and does the bolt deflect from Batman's arm shield and hits the glass, and then the glass goes to Jack Napier's face, or is that?
Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. So he like deflected it, and it ricocheted off the machine, and it hit Jack Napier like through the face, and that's why he had to get the scar, facial reconstruction that gave him that crazy grin and whatnot. And he fell into the chemicals that bleached his skin white, and I don't know, somehow it turned his hair green. I don't know, it's crazy, but that's movies for you. But I love that. I love the whole scene. He kills poor Eckhart because Eckhart betrayed him and whatnot. Eckhart, think about the future, and he shoots him. That guy, he played Porkins in Star Wars.
And of course, he was one of the villains in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was
he killed in that movie too?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the villains that was working with Lex Luthor.
I was gonna say he had some epic deaths. I mean, he's killed by Darth Vader in the battle of for the Death Star, and then he was killed by Jack Napier, aka the Joker. So that's some good deaths. if you could if you could say that at all. But moving on, moving on. But yeah, and I love the whole Joker origin. Of course, Batman looks badass walking through Axis Chemicals. I love he beats up the bad guys and whatnot. And then I love that scene when he throws down that smoke screen, and he shoots his grapple hook up. I always loved that. I just tried to replicate that as a kid. During 4th of July, I would get the smoke bombs and throw them on the ground and stand on it. It was so cool. I just want to be Batman, even till this day. Anyway, not to get too off topic here. But yeah. But eventually, Jack returns as the Joker. I love that scene when he shows up at Grissom's. Is that his house or whatever, his penthouse or whatnot?
Yeah, it's his penthouse.
He thinks it's his girlfriend because Jack has been seeing his girlfriend behind his back and whatnot. And then he thinks his girlfriend shows up, but it's actually Jack in the shadows. I love that reveal. He's kind of waiting in the shadows. You don't see his transformation just yet.
It's me, Sugar Bums.
Yeah. Oh, but just before that, we get that epic scene where he's at the doctor who's reconstructing his face. I love that. I love that scene. There's this. They actually recreated that moment in The Simpsons when Lisa was getting her braces. It was funny.
Oh yeah, that was so funny.
But then he shows up and he freaking he just shoots. He shoots Grissom, and he's going. I love how he goes all ham with it. And when he reveals himself as the Joker, he's like shooting underneath his legs and whatnot. And then he realizes that he's in control now. He needs to take over. And then I love he's reading that newspaper. Gotham City terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but that was funny. And of course, Vicky Vale, she starts dating Bruce Wayne. I don't know about that Vicky Vale. I mean, she's obsessed with like figuring out who Bruce is, like what's going on with Bruce. He's so mysterious to her, and she's even like, there's one point where he said he's going out of town, but she finds out he was lying about it because Alfred, that gossipy bitch, he lets it slip that they're not going out of town, and then later on, of course, infamously, he lets Vicky Vale into the Batcave. Because I think he just wants Bruce to be happy. Because they're old time friends. He knew his parents, he knew his family from way back when, and he just wants to see Bruce happy. And he tries to push, Bruce to be with Vicky because he sees how happy it makes her, or how happy it makes him. And I think he just wants that for him. So he goes as far as letting her in on his secret that he's Batman. And a lot of people were like, "What the fuck, Alfred? You're fired." But I mean, I could see his point. He wants Bruce to be happy. What do you think? What do you think about the whole Vicky Vale and the Batcave thing?
It's very, very good.
You're speechless.
It's very, very somewhat speechless, but it's very, very awesome because
there's a point where I want to be like, Alfred, you idiot. But then there's another point where I'm like, I could see, he just wants Bruce to stop being Batman,
But he can't help it.
Yeah. And of course, I love that scene when Joker, he shows up and kills one of the other crime bosses. Because at that point, he had like a meeting with all the other crime bosses saying he was going to take over. They're all skeptical. They're like, "What? Who put you in charge?" And because everyone's trying to fill that vacuum left behind by Grissom. And he even fries one of the guys. I love that little hand buzzer he uses.
Well, Tony, nobody wants war.
Yeah.
If we can't do business, why? We can shake hands.
That was so crazy.
Be done with it.
He turns him into like a burnt husk of a person.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Hey, that's a good impression. But yeah. And then later on, what is that fat guy? He takes over Grissom's operation, and then Joker shows up and be like, "Nah, bitch, I'm the Joker. I'm the one in charge here."
Vinny.
He shows up with those creepy those creepy mimes.
Oh yeah, the mime guys, and of course, Mime Joker appears and says, "The signature is legitimate."
Oh yeah, I saw it. He rose up with his dead hand and signed it in his own blood.
Signed it in his own blood.
And he did
Hello,
it.
Vinny. It's your Uncle Bingo. Time to pay the check.
And he stabs him in the neck with the feather. That's so brutal. And then he does like a fucking like a Valentine's Day massacre on the whole gang that's trying to take over Grissom's operation. He's brutal, man. And of course, that's a point that Batman, Bruce Wayne, he thought Jack was dead. He knows he's back as the Joker. It's crazy. And then he starts to amp up because he sees that Batman's getting all the attention, even though he's taken over and he's jealous. That's when he's like, what kind of a world do we live in when a man dresses up as a bat gets all my press?
This town needs an enema.
Yeah, that's your favorite line, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes. We won't go into your obsession about the topic of enemas anyway. Not to get too off topic.
Let's get too off topic.
But yeah, so basically he's jealous, and that's when he creates the chemical known as Smilex gas. He starts killing off a bunch of people. That scene was so creepy in the news station when that lady gets infected with the poison and she falls over laughing. They're doing a story that just broke about 2 models that died, and then she dies, and you see that creepy Joker grin on her face. It's so fucking scary. Without being like gory, it's like, creepy as shit. And they realize that Joker's poisoned beauty products, and if you use certain products together, then you die. And so everyone's like being cautious about using beauty products. You see the newscasters later on talking about it, and they look like shit because they don't have any makeup on. Although I feel like they could have brushed their hair, but it's just for effect anyway. But yeah, so anyway, Batman has to figure out. Later on, he eventually figures out the code, and he sends it to the news and whatnot. But during the whole scene. When he kills the guy trying to take over Grissom's business, what's his name? Bob the Goon. He takes pictures of the scene, and he gets a picture of Vicky Vale, and that's when the Joker becomes infatuated with her, and then he wants to meet up with her. So he sends a fake invitation over from Bruce Wayne to meet her at the art museum, and we get that wonderful scene with the paintings being defaced and the Prince song,
Gentlemen,
Party Man.
Let's broaden our minds.
I love that scene so
Lawrence?
much. I love that scene so much. I don't know, the Prince music. I didn't used to like it in there. I don't know. I thought it was a little of its time, but
it's terrific.
I appreciate
and
it now for what it is. But yeah, it's hilarious. And of course, the epic scene when Batman comes to save Vicky. He like gassed everyone in the building except for her. He gave her like a gas mask, and he was trying to get her to, kind of be by his side and documenting everything he's doing, taking photos and whatnot. And then Batman crashes the party through the roof. I love that scene. And then he swoops her up on that zip line and takes her out of the building. And that's when we get the epic line, "Where does he get those wonderful toys?" And then we're introduced to the Batmobile, the epic '89 Batmobile. I love that thing. They built that thing from scratch, I think. Well, the engine was like an existing engine and whatnot, but the whole thing was just built. They carved it from like foam, and then they cast it in fiberglass and whatnot. What do you think about that Batmobile design, man?
It's awesome. It's terrific. I think one of the directors or one of the writers got the idea from certain cars, certain designs. They did a extraordinary, fantastic job.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I just love that thing zipping around, and the whole scene, that chase scene and whatnot. And I love the shields too. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. And he can talk to it. It's almost like a voice automated. That's way ahead of its time. And it's self-driving too. It's like, man, the Batman knew the future, man. But that's so cool. And then I like how the cockpit slides forward and they get in. Originally, that was just done by accident. They were supposed to have doors on the thing, but when they sculpted it, they forgot to put the doors on. And Tim Burton's like, "That's great. Where the doors at?" And then they're like, "Oh shit, you're right." And then so they decided to make the cockpit slide forward like an old airplane. So that was done by accident, but it was a beautiful accident because I love that the design is just perfection. I think it would look silly. I mean, it works, I guess, in The Batman with Robert Pattinson, where he has the actual car with doors and stuff like that. But I think it's silly to see Batman walk up to a car and open it.
It's actually based off of
open a regular car door.
75 Dodge Chastity.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
The Robert Pattinson Batmobile.
Yeah. But
it's like a
for me,
Charger.
visually though, I think it's silly to see Batman just walk up like a normal guy and just open a car door and close it behind him. I think that sliding cockpit is just badass. I love that whole chase, and then eventually after he ditches the goons, there's just that epic alleyway fight scene that we're talking about. Batman's trying to take Vicky up on his grapple hook, and then she underestimates her weight on purpose, and then they get stuck halfway. He has to release himself to free her so she can zip up all the way, and then he gets into the fight on the street below. They almost take his mask off, but then luckily Vicky snaps a picture, distracts them. They try shooting her, and then he beats them all up.
Then, of course, we get introduced to David Lee, or Dave Lee.
Oh, yeah, the stunt guy. Didn't he pass away?
Yeah, he passed away. R.I.P., buddy. We are going to miss you so much.
Beautiful fight scenes. I love that. I love that one guy with when he's like doing the swords and whatnot, and he's freaking like kicks him in the face. I love that. And then, of course, Bob the Goon was supposed to fight Batman in a cut scene, but they ended up just having him run away. I think that was funnier. And then, of course, then Batman swoops up Vicky, takes her to the Batcave. I love that whole scene, that music, descent into mystery. That was a beautiful piece of music by Danny Elfman. They go to the Batcave. That's when he reveals the secrets of the Smilex gas, and he has her take it to the media. But then he knocks her out at the end of the scene because he steals her photographs. He wants to make sure that she doesn't have any pictures of him when they were trying to take off his mask. She's like, "Oh, he took the film," or yeah, he took the film. But yeah, and then eventually, Joker, he ups his game. He decides that in the wake of them canceling the 200th birthday gala, he's going to throw his own party. He's inviting everybody. He's saying he's going to throw out cash, but it's all just a ruse. He gets everyone there. And there's actually a cut scene. It's in the novelization where he's throwing out fake money. It's not real money, and it has his picture on it, referencing earlier when he said he wants his face on the dollar bill or something like that. But yeah, he's throwing out fake money, but it was all just a ruse to get them there because he was going to poison everybody to show how ruthless he is and how he owns the city. But of course, Batman swoops in on his Batwing. That epic Batwing is so cool. I love how they did it. They used like a full size cockpit, and then for the faraway shots, it was a model with like a little Batman on the inside with a moving head. You can see on Adam Savage's channel, Tested, the actual model that they used, and they actually got it working with the little head moving. It's kind of badass. But I love that whole scene. Of course, we got another Prince song. Was it called Trust or something like that?
Yep, that's it.
I love that Prince music in there, man. You know what's crazy? That the song Bat Dance, that shit's a trip. If you watch the music video on YouTube, that thing's like an acid trip, man. It has like Prince as half Batman, half Joker, and it has like clips like from the audio from the movie. They did that a lot back then where they had like music that tied in and they would use clips from the movie. I think Addams Family did that and a bunch of other movies like Ace Ventura and whatnot. And then oh yeah, but the Bat Dance is crazy, man. And it uses like bits of the theme from the original '60s one. It's kind of funny. Check it out if you wanna experience what it's like.
But the other quote from Joker is like, and now comes the part where I believe you, the little people, were failed and useless lives. But as my plastic surgeon said, if you gotta go
with a smile. I love it. But of course, Batman fulfills his plans. He takes his balloons, he grabs them with the Batwing and flies them into the stratosphere and releasing them. Those are my balloons. Why didn't someone tell me he had one of those things?
Bob Gunn.
He shoots poor Bob. I don't know why he shot Bob. He was his number one guy. But of course, he decides to take the Batman on mano a mano. I don't know what the deal is with Batman and that Batwing, but I don't know if he purposely shot around the Joker or if he just missed. I don't know how he missed. He had like targeted on him directly. But then the Joker pulls out that giant gag gun and shoots him out of the sky. He crashes at the cathedral. That whole cathedral scene at the end was actually done kind of last minute. Some of the writers, they actually went to see Phantom of the Opera. And then they got inspired because at the end of that, I think they're talking about the play, and at the end of that, there was a scene where they go up to the cathedral, and it takes place. That's where the final act takes place, and they're like, you know what, we need that in our movie, and so that's why Batman '89 takes place on the top of the cathedral.
Ooh,
so epic!
That is epic.
But I love the whole scene at the end. They're just duking it out. But I love how he fights his goons first, and then there's There's that one guy with the knife boots, and he just hits him in the dick with like some kind of weird. It looks like a kitchen appliance that comes out of his glove. I just call that Batman's dick smacker, but that doesn't sound right. Anyway, strike that. But and then he fights that huge dude with the sunglasses. Didn't he have sunglasses on or something?
He
but
did.
He's like beating the shit out of Batman. He almost took Batman out, and he
He's
had like
strong.
he had like a big metal chain, and that kudos to that guy. He almost took on the Batman.
He's strong.
But he knocks him down the bell tower, which I'm confused. Are there two bells on that tower? Because the Joker knocks down the bell with his acid daisy, and then later on you see the bell is missing, and then the bell reappears again, and then Batman knocks the guy down the bell tower. I'm confused about that. So maybe there's two bells. I don't know. I'm just thinking too much. And of course, I love his epic fight with the Joker. I love when he's about to fight him, and he's like, "You wouldn't punch a guy with glasses, would you?" And then there's one scene where he like knocks him through like a wood door or something like that, and he spits out those chattering teeth. I thought that was hilarious. Even in a moment of certain defeat, he's still throwing out gags and whatnot. But then he punches him over the side of the building. That's what I love about that Batman. He's brutal. Like he at that moment he tried killing him by throwing him over the building, but unfortunately the Joker, he clung on for dear life, and he dragged Vicky and Batman over the edge with him. And then he almost escaped via helicopter. But luckily, Batman, he uses bolo attachment. That's what's cool about the design of these gadgets. They're so cool. I love how modular it is. It's the same grapple gun that he uses to zip around, but he has like this bolo attachment. He shoots it on the Joker's legs, and it gets stuck on a what do you call those things?
The gargoyle?
Gargoyle.
That weighed like 450 pounds.
Something like that. And it dragged him.
heavy.
It started to drag him down, and he just falls to his death. I love that. Batman's like, fuck this guy. He ain't getting away. He has him fall to his death below. I love that scene where he's like embedded in the concrete, and he has like that weird laughing box. And then the city is safe again. Of course, they almost fall to the deaths, but luckily he has another grapple hook that he saves Vicky Vale on. The reign of terror is over in Gotham, and I love how it like ties into Batman's collaboration with Gordon at that point. He gave there's Harvey Dent's doing a speech about the speech that Batman left them about how if terror should rise in the city again, call him. And then Knox is still there, and he's like, how do we call him? And then
He gave us a signal.
Yeah, and Gordon lights up the infamous bat signal. I love that ending. It's perfection. And the music strikes up again. The Batman theme reprises. And then we see the bat signal in the sky. Vicky is just staring at it. She gets driven away by Alfred. And then he's like, Mr. Wayne said he was going to be late again. And she's like, I'm not surprised at all. I love that scene. And then, of course, like you said, we see the stuntman as Batman looking over the night sky. It's perfection. I love this movie so much.
Oh, yeah, I do. I give this movie a high...
I give it a
rental.
9.5 out of 10. I would
give it a
definitely
9 out of 10.
recommend checking it out before you see the new Flash movie that's supposed to come out. I believe this summer it's supposed to come out. I'm so excited for that, to see Keaton back again. We were supposed to see him in Batgirl, but that was for naught. But we're going to get him in the Flash, so hopefully we get a bunch of other cameos. Maybe we will see Danny DeVito. Hopefully he's not naked in a couch, but... for anyone who doesn't get that, that's from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the Christmas special. I've had such fun talking about this. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ, the Movie Man Wagner, also known as COE.
Yes, and we want to say thank you for watching our video. Check out my Instagram, @MenWatchMovies, for those AI versions of the Bat characters that we never got,
and
actors.
of course, click the link down below. Subscribe for more content.
Definitely.
Click the... bell down below, and of course,
keep on watching. Thank you, everybody.
And of course, we were going to do a special episode about Michael J. Fox movies.
That's coming up.